Hello, everyone, and welcome to the very first episode of Stream Chat, a show that I, Travis Gafford, host, where I talk to streamers about their life, how they got into streaming, what they think of it, etc. My very first guest today is Poki. How's it going, Poki?
Hey, I'm good. How are you?
What are you? Are you a League of Legends streamer? Are you a Fortnite streamer? Are you a variety streamer? Are you a
At,
YouTuber?
yeah, at this point, I guess overall, I consider myself a content creator. In terms of streaming, I guess I'd say variety because I kind of just do whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I was trying to figure out how to introduce you, but I figured you'd do a better job of that than I would. For those that don't know me, which is probably the vast majority of the people that are watching this live, and maybe even on VOD, I've been interviewing gaming people mostly in the League of Legends space for the past 7 years. But the whole point of this show is nobody's talking to the streamers or finding out their stories or whatever, what motivates them. And I think there's a lot of interesting people here like Poki, who I can talk to and learn a little bit about. And hopefully you all enjoy it too. So let's get into it. So first off, you have a cat. We'll start with the cat. Could you introduce, because it looks like the cat's making an appearance. Does the cat have a name?
This is Mimi.
Mimi.
She
Very
just
good.
loves being all over my computer. So I
And
figured I'd give her some snuggles. I got her like a week or so ago.
yeah, I was gonna say, I think new addition to your life.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
She's been great. It's really nice having a pet.
Very good. Well, I do want to go all the way back to learn a little bit about you growing up, and how a lot of people know that you are a Canadian, but you weren't actually born in Canada, is what I've learned recently.
Nope.
So how did all that happen?
I was born in Morocco, and then my parents moved to Canada when I was 4.
Yeah.
And then I grew up in Canada, and about a year and a half to 2 years ago, I moved to California.
All right. Do you have like a sense of attachment to Morocco or any of that life, or was it just like so far before the start of anything interesting happened to you that maybe it's different?
I mean, I have a sense of attachment to my family in Morocco because we do visit them pretty frequently. I'd say once every year or every other year. But in terms of like my time living there, not really, because I was like 4 and I don't really remember much.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Okay, so then you moved to Canada. So what was life growing up in Canada? I mean, what was your family like? What was sort of that whole experience of growing up and going to school like for you?
Pretty nice. I've always been someone who's very much into school. Like it was always just a very important thing for my family and me. My parents were both teachers at some point or other, so that was just something that they always made sure to drill into us, the importance of education. And I guess I was like more of like a goody two shoes. I had an older brother. We like kind of fought when I was younger, but now we get along great.
Nice.
And yeah,
What
I
is
feel
your?
like,
Oh, go ahead.
oh, sorry. Now that I'm older, like looking back on my childhood, I feel like it was pretty nice and tame and chill, and I was glad that I grew up in Canada because I just feel like things aren't as intense as they
Yeah.
are in, say, the US.
Did you grow up in like big city, small city? I mean, what was
It's a
that like?
pretty small city,
Yeah.
but it also wasn't so small that I'm like in a village or something. So, I was able to socialize well enough, but also, not feel overwhelmed by any means.
Yeah. So what were you, like a jock or a gamer nerd? Or I mean, you said you were very interested in education. Like what were you like when you were younger?
So, when I was super little, very much like goody two shoes, and I'd say like throughout all of elementary school and high school, like grades were always really important to me. But also in high school, like I was very much like a social butterfly. I wanted to be friends with everyone, student council, dance club, this and that. Especially like for the first couple years of high school. But then as time went on, I got a lot more into video games, and everyone in my high school got a lot more into parties and drugs. So,
Okay. Yeah, those are divergent areas of
very
expertise.
much so.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I guess I kind of distanced myself a bit from people in my school when we were outside of school. But in school, I was still happy and friends with everyone, got along well with everyone.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Were you part of any cliques? I mean, you say like you were part of dance club and all that. I mean, were you like the popular girl at school? Did you get prom queen? I mean, how did that all go down?
I did get junior prom queen actually, and I was
But
on
not
a
senior prom
student
queen?
council grade 9 and 10. No, and things like valedictorian.
Valedictorian, yeah.
I don't know why I promise pronouncing that word,
Sure.
but like I would be nominated for things like that. But when it came to the last like 2 years of high school, I just didn't really feel an attachment to the people that I went to school with. Like I would be friends with them and I'd be more than happy to be friends with them, chat with them every day, but I felt like those relationships were very shallow. And so the friend groups that I was in, like I would just hang out with them every now and then. I didn't feel like I particularly belonged anywhere,
Yeah.
which was kind of rough because, when you're in high school, you're having like identity crisis, like
Right.
left and right, don't know how you should be or who you are, blah, blah, blah. But I'm glad I stuck with what I like and didn't so much try to conform to what like those cliques did enjoy to try to feel like I fit in more with them.
Do you have any young drama or anything like that? I mean, it sounds like loving family and all that stuff, but like dramatic boyfriend situations when you're in high school, or just anything that was just kind of, or was everything pretty much just smooth sailing for you?
Nothing like huge, especially not family wise. My family was like kind of strict with me when I was young, so it was just like you can't be out late, you can't do this, can't do that. Like even for my high school, I mean for my prom, there's always like a prom after party that everyone goes to. And my
Right.
mom was like, no. And I was like, Mama, I only get one prom in my life. And she's just like, no. And then she made me come back home after my prom and no one else was home. So I was just stuck outside waiting.
Oh,
I'm
really?
like,
So
yeah.
your
I
after
was
party
so
was sitting out in
upset.
front of the
I
house.
was like, Mom, you're gonna tell me to come back, ditch all my friends, not go to the only chance I have to go to my prom after
Yeah.
party, and you not even go be here to open the door for me.
Yeah. I mean, you did say your high school colleagues got into drugs and partying, so maybe they were just looking out for
I
you.
mean, they all do, but that doesn't mean that I'm gonna do it, you
Okay.
know?
Yeah. Very good. Now, what?
These
So
cool
you
kids.
you actually speak French.
Yes, it
Is
was
your
the first language that I learned, yeah.
was it sort of the language that you grew up speaking? Is that like what everybody at your school spoke?
Yeah, so in Morocco, French is the second most popular language, and it's very well known everywhere. And also, the province that I grew up in, Ontario, is a bilingual province. So my mom taught in like a full French school, and that's also where I ended up going for elementary school. So growing up, I learned that first, and then around grade 4, I started learning English more. And then, like, as the years go on, you do more immersion. So more of your classes become English until they're all fully English classes.
Yeah. All right. So you mentioned you got into games at some point in time. What was your first like video game experience?
Oh my God, probably just like super young, like Game Boy SP, like a console game, GameCube, whatever it is. It's hard for me to remember exactly what, but I did play console games with my brother quite a bit before starting to play PC games, probably somewhere around 10 to 12 years old.
Yeah.
And then we would play just like a lot of MMOs together, like RuneScape, Endless Online, random Flash
Yeah.
games.
Are there any games that really stand out to you from like the beginning? Like I remember playing Lemmings on my grandfather's PC, playing Super Mario. Like, are there any specific games that you just think back to and you're like, oh my god, I remember that game so well, even though I was so young?
Yeah, pinball. I fucking
Pinball?
love No, I'm just kidding. I did play pinball on my grandpa's PC
The
all the
Windows
time.
pinball, the
Yeah,
Space
because
Cadet.
that was the only game he had.
Yeah.
Because his PC was so old and had no internet.
Yeah.
But the first game that I think I like super duper fell in love with, aside from Pokemon, like Pokemon and Zelda and Mario, they just don't count. Like everybody loves those games, okay?
Yeah.
But like my specific game was probably one called Endless Online, which was this MMO that I just got so hooked on, specifically because of like the community aspect. It was like that first game that you just want to log on every day after school and like hang out with your friends, even though you're like just hanging out online. Like I knew none of those people in person, but I was just like so addicted to having those online friends. And yeah.
Yeah. Was League of Legends like the first real hook for you, like the first one where you were like really went in depth? Because I know that's kind of what started your content creation career, right?
I think I just kind of have an addictive personality when it comes to gaming, i.e., why everyone says I quit League now. It's just when I get into a game, like I really get into a game. So Endless, I was hooked on for a while. Maple Story, I was hooked on for a while. And then League, I was hooked on for a long while. And
Right.
now I'm kind of hooked on Fortnite.
Well, when did you start playing League?
Uh, Either like end of grade 9 or grade 10. It's like many, many, many years ago.
Yeah.
6, 7? I have no idea.
So you graduated and you went off to college to. I think you mentioned in an interview with me previously that you were studying chemical engineering.
Yeah.
All right. So why chemical engineering?
All right. So, my senior year, I applied to like 6 science programs because throughout all of high school, it was just so ingrained in me. Like, you're gonna go into a medical program, then you're gonna be a doctor, and
Those are
you're
your
gonna do a
parents?
billion years of school. Yeah. And I was like, well, like I liked math, I liked sciences, so I was kind of going along with it. Sure, whatever. I applied to like 6 or 7 science programs, and then I was like, I should have some variety. Let me just throw in an engineering program because my brother went to Mac for engineering as well, and I knew that like no, it's a good degree. So I applied to all those. And then by the end of my senior year, I actually did research and found out that like 2% of people actually get into med school. It's like 12 years of schooling.
Yeah.
When like engineering is such a good degree for 4 years and you can have like a bomb, can I swear?
Yes.
A bomb ass job.
I like
after
ass
4
is like the
years.
lightest swear ever, but I
Yeah,
appreciate
I just
it. Yeah.
wasn't sure.
Yeah, that's good.
But yeah, it was just like, it just made more sense to go into engineering,
Yeah.
especially considering the classes that I liked and did well in. So yeah, I ended up doing that. And then my first year was general, and I kind of just chose, this is going to sound so troll, I chose chemical because I like product development, I like chemistry, and there's a lot of girls in the program. And in engineering, there were like no girls. Every girl that I made friends with just dropped out. And I was like, I need more girls in my program. So I went into chemical, but I think if I stayed instead of like doing what I do now, or if I were to ever go back, I would switch to software engineering.
Okay. Why software engineering?
Chemical engineering was really not what I expected. I was like, oh, I'm gonna like make products and make them better than other products.
Sure.
But it's literally just like transformations from one chemical to another. It's so boring. I'm just gonna say it's so boring. Whereas software engineering can at least relate more to things that I'm passionate about, like games or websites or programs or
Sure.
whatever it is.
What was your first decision around creating content, and what was that content? Was it just like I'm just going to stream? Did you make a YouTube video first? Like, what was your first thing, and was it gaming? You know, what was sort of that moment for you?
Well, growing up, I mean, I think every girl can relate, just like watching YouTube channels and seeing beauty gurus, and you're like, oh my God, I want a YouTube channel. I always had that in the back of my head, but I never actually pulled through with it. And then in high school, yeah, senior year, my friends showed me Twitch streamers. And it's funny because these were like my gamer friends. I basically had friends that I saw in school, and then I had friends that I hung out with every night online afterwards that were in my city, but I only saw them once every like 3 months. We would just play games every single night.
Sure.
Those, I guess, were like my more legit friends. And we had a big Skype group, and they would always post cute Twitch girls in our Skype group and talk about them. But then I would watch it, I'd be like, oh my God, like I love what she does. And I just like fell in love with the whole website.
Do you remember any of those streamers or who those streamers were?
Yeah, there was Muffins X3. I think that was her name. There was another girl called Eskimo Kisses. And I was just like, oh my God, they play games and stuff. I want to do it. And I really like the social aspect. I think just, you know, for a long time, I've been a very social person. So I think streaming fits with me very well.
Yeah. So what was the first... So you saw this, you knew you wanted to be it. So what was sort of that next moment? Like, how did you end up streaming, and what was your first stream like?
Well, my computer sucked and my internet sucked. So I had to fix those two things first. So it was definitely like a gradual process. I didn't just YOLO do it.
Sure.
And then I kind of just like told my friends, they're like, yeah, you should totally do it. Like, we'll watch, we can all play together. So I set everything up and then I linked them my stream. And I used to be on Tumblr a lot, so I also posted my stream on my like Tumblr blog, and then I like hashtag League of Legends, and I was like, maybe some people will check it out. And people actually did check it
Yeah.
out. And yeah, that's where it all started.
And this was what year or how long ago was this?
This was senior year of high school.
Of high school.
So
Okay.
like 4 or 5 years ago, something like that.
So I remember just sort of like hearing your name starting to pop up, and I remember thinking like, oh, okay, so it's like a new grill streamer, as they're sometimes referred to. And then all of a sudden, it felt like things really started to take off for you. How like around what time do you feel like you really started to see like the success, and you started to realize, oh, this is actually going to potentially be a thing?
Financially, I would say halfway through my second year of university. It was when I made a substantial amount of money in a month, both via donations. But I always knew that donations, like they go up and down every month, so I couldn't trust that. But then I got like sponsors. And when sponsor money started rolling in, I was like, thinking emoji.
Yeah. How many
So
people were
like
watching you at this time, by the way?
probably around 1K.
Okay.
That was what I was averaging. And I remember I asked so many people. I asked every streamer friend I had and their mother. I was like, should I go full time? I don't know what to do.
So,
But
so
I'm
what
very
was
glad
that
that I did.
decision? What was that decision to go full time? Like, how did that happen?
I think it was like, I always like to be logical about things. And I mean, I was probably in like 20K school debt at that point. And I was like, wait, I'm making like 5K plus just like from sponsor money and this and that. Like, this, even if I take a year off and my career doesn't elevate in any way, at least I am saving up money throughout this year that I can use to pay off my student loans.
Yeah.
So that's how I justified it. It was like either this actually goes somewhere, or hey, I'm working and I'll have less student loans afterwards. And that's how I also convinced my parents to let me do it.
So what? Yeah. How did you? What was that first life like for you? I mean, were you streaming out of the dorm full time? I mean, obviously you like left school, so was it just a summer and you decided to not go back and you're staying at your parents' place? What was going on in your life at that time?
So second year, once I was kind of convincing my parents, I was like, maybe I should see like what I can really do with this. I took a reduced course load. So like in engineering, a normal course load is like 5 classes. Engineering classes, they make you take 6 just because they want you to hate your life.
Right.
And I was like, I'm not going to do that for one semester, see how it goes. I took like 3 or 4 classes, something like that. And then after that, things were slowly getting better and better. So I was like, okay, I'm going to take a full year off. And then that's when I moved back in with my parents. And, oh yeah, that was the summer. Around the same time, I tried moving to LA. And I think that's when things really popped off for me career-wise. And then after that, I had to move back home alone while my parents were gone and wait for my visa for 3 months, the most depressing 3 months of my life.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was the process.
When I interviewed you at the end of last year with Lily, you were talking a little bit about just how streaming is hard, and streaming is hard when you're by yourself, and
Yeah.
it's like it's strange in that it's very social, but it's also kind of not because you're just sitting in front of a computer for hours and hours on end. Maybe you can explain a little bit more about that and sort of the experience you had and before you were able to move into the offline house.
So for 3 months to get my visa, I had to come back home, and my dad worked abroad at the time, and my mom went to stay with him. So I was basically in my parents' house, but living alone, and also in a city where basically all of the friends that I had in that city, my hometown, were away for school. So it's a very lonely time for me. I had little to no human interaction. I would just wake up, end stream, play more games, sleep. And that's cool for like a week to the 3 or 4 week mark. One day you just wake up and you're like, holy shit, I haven't had human interaction in so long. And it just made me like very, very sad. I'm just like crying. I'm like, I don't know anyone. Where are my friends? Pepe hands.
Yeah.
Um, it got to the point where I was just like, excited to like go to the doctor's office because I was like talking to people and stuff. I never realized, and this may be different for different people. Like I know Scar can probably like go weeks just streaming and not really care if he hangs out with
Yeah.
people. But for me personally, I didn't realize how much I valued and needed that human interaction until I went so long without it.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's when I realized that it feels so much better to do this kind of thing around people that understand and also just live with people in general.
Yeah. Do you always have this much positivity? Because in telling me the story, you're like, it was super sad. I was crying, and then you're like, it was super sad, and I was crying, and everything was great. It's very remarkable, right? I mean, is this behind the scenes how you are, or do you feel like you need to sort of be a little bit more positive for the viewers and for the people that are watching you?
I kind of do my best to give off these positive vibes, both on and off stream, because I've noticed that if you just try to fake something for the stream, it never really works. And being a positive person isn't a bad thing. And if I practice that all the time, on or off stream, it'll make it that much easier to just be positive in general when I am streaming, which at the end of the day, like, is my goal. You know, I want people to enjoy watching me, and the easiest way to be positive on stream is just to be a positive person all the time. So yeah, I actually think streaming is one of the things that pushes me to better myself the most, knowing that like there's these people watching, this entire community that kind of relies on me to be this like light in their day sometimes when they're feeling bad. It just makes me, want to do good for myself and be the best version of me that I can be. As cringy as that sounds.
No, but I mean, is that ever a burden to you, right? Because it can definitely inspire you, but at the same time, if you're having a rough day, you tweeted yesterday that I think you decided to take the day off because you were just feeling sick.
Oh my God, yeah.
Does it weigh on you ever where you know that all these people are kind of expecting you to be positive and to stream frequently? I have friends who, if they don't stream, people come back or they stream and they'll come back and say, everybody will just be spamming like, oh, annual stream or whatever. Like, is it tough for you to deal with basically what seems to be a lot of pressure from an audience to be positive and to always be creating content and always be on it?
Kind of. It's also just like I hate feeling like I'm being lazy myself. And I guess that probably goes with that subconscious pressure that people are waiting for me or wanting me to stream or whatever it is. But I've come to accept that at the end of the day, I'm only human, and I very much like the best content that I make is when I'm happy making that content.
Yeah.
So if I force myself to do things when I'm not feeling it, chances are it's not going to be a good stream. It's not going to be a good video. It's not going to be a good whatever I want it to be.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Along those lines, I mean, I think maybe this kind of goes in, or what you're saying kind of goes into this. I talked to Doublelift, who streams during the off season and when he takes breaks, and one of the things that he says is so hard for him to cope with is at any given point in time, if he's doing something that isn't streaming, he feels like he could be making money streaming, right? So like sleeping is taking away from potential earnings, and eating is taking away from potential earnings, hanging out with friends, going to see a movie, etc. Do you ever feel that sense? Like, is it hard for you? I mean, even in situations where you are positive and you have to decide between, do I take this day off? Do I go do something? Do I go watch a movie? Or do I, go on and stream or create a YouTube video or something?
It is true, and I definitely understand that mentality. I feel like I've just been streaming for so long that I've started kind of looking past that, and I'm not that extremely money driven to the point where, I'm just looking to maximize my profits at all time.
Yeah.
I very much value being able to balance between work and personal because, through rough times, I've learned how important that can be. So yeah, I think I've kind of let go of that expectation, and I realized that success comes and goes, money comes and goes. At the end of the day, I'm very lucky and blessed to not be desperately in need of anything. So I just do my best to balance and not be lazy by any means.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit. You referenced that you have your audience is like, oh, she quit League of Legends or whatever. You for the most part were streaming League of Legends for a very, very long time. Mm-hmm. Now, like looking at the content you put out, sometimes it's League, but oftentimes it's Fortnite. Mm-hmm. maybe you can explain a little bit about what's going on there. Was this a Do you like Fortnite more? Is it the opportunity because obviously there's just more stream viewers looking for Fortnite content? I mean, what's is this a pivot or what's going on there?
It wasn't like a strategic pivot whatsoever. I think, as I said before, I have quite the addictive personality. So when I get into a game, like I just want to play that game. And I was very lucky that, Fortnite kind of popped off. So at the same time that I was really feeling the game, it was also beneficial for my career to be playing it. So those two went hand in hand pretty well. I still feel like I love League. I'm gonna keep playing League whenever, and that's always gonna be a game that I enjoy. Right now, it's been very enjoyable to just like learn something new and get better at something new. It's been a very fun challenge for me. So I think a change of pace is good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Taking a bit of a step back because I forget to ask you this. There was you mentioned around the time that you had 1,000 viewers, you were like, oh, maybe I could go independent and I could do this full time.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I mean, the stream that you just finished up as before this interview, you had about 10,000 people watching you, and I think a couple hours before that it was sitting around like 13,000, 14,000, probably when Europe was awake or whatever. But what what has that path been like for you? Because similarly, I think you hit 1 million subs not too long ago. Now you're at like 1.4. No doubt driven in part because of the Fortnite success. What has that whole like explosion been like for you? Have there been points in time where it's been overwhelming? I mean, what's that path been like?
Yeah, things can definitely get overwhelming sometimes, and that's why I bring up how important it is to balance like work and personal. Sometimes I just like I disassociate Pokey from like me, Iman. And if like things are overwhelming Pokey, I'm like, that's okay, that's Pokey. Like Iman's gonna go read a book and like chillax and hang out with some friends. Like I just really try to separate work from personal because when those two things overlap too much, that's when it feels very overwhelming.
Yeah.
But as for like the progression of my stream, I'd say it's awesome because it was never just like one single thing. It's like if I was like at 1K here, once I moved to Cali, it like went up a bit. And then once we started doing more offline TV stuff, it went up a bit. ASMR gave me a bump. IRL streaming gave me a bump. Fortnite gives me another bump. And the way that I try to see it is just more outlets or more ways for me to get exposure and get like more people into my community that enjoy me for me and will hopefully stick along for the ride regardless of what I do.
Yeah. You talk a little bit about separating yourself into the personality and the individual. There's a lot of people looking at like YouTubers and others who bring all of their life with them whenever they create content, right? Everything from this is my family, this is what's going on, like here's sort of a emotional struggle I'm dealing with right now, to this is my boyfriend. I feel like you let some of that into your content and into your audience, but some of it you also kind of separate. Is that strategic? Is it you just want to keep stuff separate? I mean, like your Twitch chat just seems to spam all the time, speculating who you're dating, if you're dating somebody, is it somebody who you live with, is it somebody who you know? I mean, what's your mentality and kind of take on like separating those aspects of your life?
I think it's mostly just like what I feel is valuable to share and what I would enjoy sharing. For example, like if I ever go through a hard time and I want to tell my community about that in hopes to help people that are in a similar situation, I'll do that because I feel like that is valuable content in a sense. Speculating who I'm dating with, to me, is just like not valuable content whatsoever. And I feel like relationships are just so personal that I wouldn't really feel comfortable putting that kind of thing out there for everybody to attempt to give their input on, when at the end of the day, random person from wherever's opinion doesn't matter for my personal relationship.
Sure.
So I'd probably only do that like once I'm about to get married or something.
Okay.
A wedding video incoming.
Okay, you'll announce an engagement. Is once the engagement occurs, you'll be like, by the way, I've been dating this random guy no one knows about, not from the scene.
Seriously.
Yeah.
Like only engagement videos, no boyfriend tags, no whatever.
Well,
engagement or bust.
Yeah. How do you deal with the trolls? I mean, I hate creating content around the idea of like, well, you're a woman and everything, really that can for some people just kind of create this whole and consume their whole identity and distract from what they're really trying to do. But as a female streamer, I believe you probably get far more trolls and shitty bullshit than a lot of the guy streamers who are out there. How do you deal with that stuff? Does it ever get to you? I mean, that's a whole nother side of this, and especially as you're trying to stay positive, I don't know if that's a challenge.
Man, not learning not to take things personally is just like the biggest blessing and gift and tool skill ever when you're a content creator. You just and I've been repeating this to myself for years. That's why it's easy for me to say it, but I know it's not easy right off the bat when someone says something so rude and it feels so personal, but it really isn't. And there have just been so many instances that show me this. For example, I've had one person donate under like 20 to 30 different usernames, just very weird personal jabs. And seeing that all of these annoying messages that I've gotten really only came from one person, it's just like, it's so dumb and useless. And you see that if someone is willing to go out of their way to do something like that, chances are they're not happy with their lives.
Yeah.
And I've kind of developed this mentality where I want to still take constructive criticism, especially from people whose positions I would like to be in or whose opinions I value for whatever reason it is. And if someone is running around being a keyboard warrior every day in random people's streams, that's not someone whose position I want to be in. So why should I take their advice, or why should I care what they say, really?
There's a different type of user out there that I've become more aware of recently on Twitch where they'll drop a mega donation.
Oh, sorry, one sec.
The cat attack?
My headset unplugged.
Oh, no
Sorry,
worries.
what'd you say?
No worries. Just the greatest question I've ever asked in my life. But no, there's a different type of Twitch user out there that's a little different than a troll that I've become aware of recently. It's the type of person who will send like $500 or buy everything on your wish list and say like, and then expect special treatment, right? Like, why won't you add me on your personal Snapchat and like snap me all the time? Or why won't you hang out with me? I'm going to be in Los Angeles. How do you cope with situations like that?
I actually feel like every female streamer has to go through something like that. Every single one will have those. It's weird to call them opportunities, but a lot of girls, no BM, will kind of take that as an opportunity to get close to someone who's obviously willing to support them a lot. And ever since I started streaming, I've always like had my mind up that like that's a big no-no. If you're donating, like you're a donator, and I will never like get close to someone specifically for that reason. Because I understand, obviously, the more attention you give them, the more they're gonna want to support you. But that just feels wrong to me, and I strictly want people to donate, for the right reasons, because they enjoy the content, not because they want to talk to me more. So I think having those strict guidelines just helps me be more at ease and helps set the tone for my stream as well.
Yeah. Well, we're running low on time, so just a couple more questions. You mentioned earlier that you've added all these sort of things to your content portfolio, right? It was League streaming, then IRL and ASMR and Fortnite. How do you decide which of these to focus on? Is there a world where maybe you can't keep doing ASMR now because Fortnite is taking so much of your life? Like how do you keep this balance? And do you have an idea in your head, like, okay, 10% ASMR, 60% Fortnite? Like how do you approach that?
That has been a struggle of mine lately, and I think I've more or less decided to follow my heart, as cheesy as it is, because I know that people like to see me do things that I enjoy doing, and I know that my good content comes from being passionate about what I'm doing. And when I watched my old ASMR videos, I saw that like I really enjoyed what I was doing, and I don't feel like doing that as much now, so I don't want to come out with like a bad ASMR video where I'm not enjoying it as much. And I think that's totally okay, and it's kind of part of my job or my life as a content creator to follow these creative intuitions of mine.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I really like the idea of a bad ASMR video, though. I like the. Yeah,
I'm just
I'm
like,
here.
oh wait, Mark did something like
Yes.
that. It was
His
really
is bad. I didn't
funny.
want to bring it up because I don't know how many people are familiar with Mark, but I yes, it was very strange. What are your long term goals and all this stuff? You know, like is it to become a mega YouTube Twitch brand? Is it to impact? Like what are you really trying to go for with all this?
Um, Honestly, like there's no number or anything that is my goal. My goal isn't even to be like number one anything. I just want to be happy with what I'm making and what I'm doing. And yeah, just to always be working on projects that I thoroughly enjoy.
Yeah.
And as long as I can make a living doing that, I'm more than happy. And of course, long term, I want to be like financially independent enough to be able to just like own a company or a brand of some sort and not have to make content myself, if that makes sense.
Yeah. You sort of oversee a
Yeah,
brand. Like
yeah.
Pokimane becomes
That's
a
long,
magazine.
long term. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
All right. Well, I'm sure your audience will be sad if that day ever comes, but hopefully they'll enjoy everything else that comes out from that.
I
Uh,
when I'm like 50, don't worry, guys.
okay. Oh, when you're 50, so you're gonna stream and create YouTube content up until when you're 50, and then
Yeah,
that's
wedding
yeah,
vlogs, family
yeah,
channel, the whole shit. I'm
nice.
just kidding. But yeah, long term, I don't know how long term, but
All right.
that's the idea.
Well, that kind of answers just a couple, my final questions, which is just what will you do if you aren't a gaming influencer? Do you plan on doing this for a very long time? It sounds like up until 50, maybe. What would you do? I mean, you mentioned going back and being a software engineer. Is that it? Is it building this brand? What's out there for you?
I think I'm pretty willing to pivot however it is in terms of content creation because I know there's so many things, so many ways you can make content, whether it be lifestyle or gaming or comedy or whatever it is. I would probably do whatever I can to sort of make it online. And if that doesn't work out, then yeah, I'll just go back and be a software engineer.
Okay. Well, you've already got the Professor Pokey look. I saw that video, so you can get that going. Is there anything that you would say to all the people that watch your content and, you know, they support you, they watch your stuff, they want to know what's going on with you? Anything you want to say to anybody out there?
Just thank you so much for supporting me, and I hope that you guys get just as much out of it as I do. That's always been my number one goal. I always want people, especially, I don't know how to word this right, but I feel like for a long time, the gaming community wasn't like appreciated enough. Now gaming is cooler, which is awesome, but at the end of the day, I just want people to know that like their hobbies, their interests, however they are, that's totally okay, and I don't want people to ever feel like they have to change themselves for others because I know that feel, didn't do it, and it feels nice to say that it all worked out.
Thank you so much, Pokey. Really happy to sit
Thank
down
you
with
for
you
having
and chat
me.
with you. For everyone else, this is the first episode of Stream Chat. If there are other people that you would like me to interview, other streamers, feel free to suggest those in the comments or bug the crap out of them that you want them to come on this show. I host this show live on my Twitch channel, which is twitch.tv/Travis Gafford. If you're watching live right now, feel free to follow. If you're watching the VOD, feel free to hit that up. I'll put links in the description. Pokey's gesturing for all of this stuff. Thank you again, Pokey, for coming on. And this has
No
been
problem.
episode 1.